Hello world, it's Birdo Prey 5, Qapla. Welcome to my 5 most annoying nitpicks of Star Trek Picard Season 3, Episode 5, Imposters. As always, be warned, there will absolutely be spoilers. This episode was full of nitpicks, and if you want to hear much more than the 5, check out my full reaction video. But be warned, it's almost an hour even at 2x speed. That said, let's jump into our first nitpick. Number 1. Early in the episode, we get a captain's log telling us the Titan, which appeared to be fully repaired at the end of last episode, must pull over for repairs. The problem, besides the fact hundreds of tiny droids are buzzing around the ship doing the repairs, is the log states they've made it to the, quote, edge of the Alpha Quadrant. And that is a good place to make repairs. This is a line clearly written by someone who has no idea what it even means. Casual fans can be forgiven for thinking Earth is in the Alpha Quadrant. The Federation is often considered an Alpha Quadrant power, but the fact is, the line that divides the Alpha and Beta Quadrant runs from the center of the Milky Way directly through the Sun, our Sun, Earth's Sun. So if you made it to the edge of the Alpha Quadrant, you're very close to the center of the Federation. And yes, you could still be far away if you were really close to the galactic center or the galaxy's edge, but then you never would have been that far from the edge of the quadrant to begin with, so you wouldn't word your log like he did. It may sound like a minor point, but right away it reminds me the writer had a fundamental misunderstanding of Trek lore, and no one thought to correct it. It's a voiceover log. There's no video. Frakes could probably have recorded a sound clip at his home, if anyone had cared to fix it. Number 2. Raffi is the weakest regular character in the show, and she doesn't take long to make an idiot of herself.
Congratulations. We are now the Alphas of District 6.
You know what? Sometimes work is fun.
Seconds after some cringe dialogue between her and Worf, for some inexplicable reason, the citizens of District 6 of Matalas Prime now scurry away like the cockroaches they are at the mere sight of her and Worf, when the day before they literally ignored them while Worf and Raffi chased down Toluco, a name who doesn't even get mentioned this episode. But the main nitpick is this.
Listen up! We're looking for Kryn, an associate of Sneed. Where is he? Did you not hear me? What happened to Sneed is gonna happen to every person in this damn city, unless you turn him over right now.
Raffi shoots her gun in the air and makes a ridiculous proclamation to the entire city that everyone will be murdered if they don't turn over this Kryn guy. This is ridiculous on so many levels. First, in Westerns, when this would happen, the cowboy or marshal or bad guy would shoot his gun in the town center because it was loud and everyone would hear it and they would come and see what was going on. A phaser isn't a loud weapon. No one should notice she even shot it unless they happen to be looking in her direction. Second, it was always a small town, a few wood buildings, not a massive city filled with modern construction where there's no hope of hearing someone God knows how many kilometers away or inside a well-insulated building. Next, the person doing the yelling was usually a loud man. Raffi's voice was just so weak in this scene. I don't know if it was a bad direction or if she has a real problem, but she didn't come close to convincing me she was yelling as loud as she could. Finally, of course, there's the ultimatum. For 3 days, or however long they've been there, they've been telling everyone they were with Starfleet intelligence. No one will believe, even for a second, Starfleet intelligence would murder an entire city to find one guy who might not even be there. It's only out of sheer plot convenience he even chose to reveal himself. Had he not, they would have been completely out of luck. Number 3. I'll be honest, as I've stated with this series, it isn't all bad. One of the things I do like are the ships, and we get some great space shots in this episode. However, when the USS Intrepid warps in, we are treated to, in my opinion, a very disappointing ship.
Titan, this is the USS Intrepid. Power down and await further instructions.
What I see is a ship that appears to be an equal of the Titan, nearly the same size, but an unappealing design. Looking at these two facing off, I have no reason to believe the Intrepid has a tactical advantage over the Titan. Further, knowing now that Ro gives her life to give the Titan what she calls a fighting chance by attempting to take out a warp nacelle with her doomed shuttle, gives us all the more reason to make the Intrepid look menacing. At the very least, the Intrepid should look like an updated USS Voyager, which itself was Intrepid class. But even better, though, would be if the Intrepid looked like a warship rather than an exploratory vessel, as the Titan is classed. Imagine a larger, updated Defiant. A very different design, but still recognizable as a Federation ship. Instead, the Intrepid falls after being hit as if there was some unknown gravity well below them. When it regains its power, it also regains its altitude. Even Armin Shimmerman questioned how there was so much fire burning in space. I wonder if Terry Matalas will be blocking him on Twitter next. Number 4. The Holodeck.
Let's step into the holodeck.
Why was it still on? Why was it running 10 forward? Also, while we're at it, how is the 10 forward program even on the Titan? Was it left over from when Riker was captain? It seems very convenient. But the main issue is this, of course. The fact the holodeck safeties can be disabled without so much as a confirmation prompt. You could accidentally tap the screen and disable the safeties as easily as I sometimes mute people on my cell phone. Whoops, just killed half the crew. Sorry about that. It takes more steps for me to turn Bluetooth off. And, if it isn't bad enough, it firmly establishes this is 10 forward from the year 2024. Fine. But how does Picard pull out Guinan's 25th or even 26th century phaser that is part of 10 forward from the year 2024? Don't think too hard about it. It's clear the writers didn't either. Number 5. And then we get this.
Most unexpected. Check him.
Worf was able to convincingly fake his own death, which I'm sure surprised no one. It was very lucky for Worf, the evil Vulcan emotional logical crime lord who hated the smell of Klingon blood ordered his henchmen to remove Worf's body rather than vaporize him where he lay, which would have been the more logical choice to me.
You work for me now, Starfleet.
All that aside, however, what surprised me, then enraged me, was the cockamamie reason Worf was able to fake his death. Kryn's henchmen felt for a pulse and felt none. Worf said he mastered the K-less technique for meditation, and goes on to tell us it allows him to reduce his heart rate to imperceptible levels. Now, the first time I heard this, it fueled 2 expletive-laden rants on my original reaction video. Let me try to explain this again without the foul language we have come to expect in modern Star Trek and Bird of Prey 5 reaction videos. K-less is a revered figure in Klingon history, part Jesus, part Genghis Khan, and part George Washington. K-less is credited with starting what would grow to become the Klingon Empire. He was a great warrior, a man of honor. It is said he cut a lock of his own hair, dipped it into a pool of lava, and forged the first batleth, a sword he then used to slay the tyrant Molar. K-less was large. K-less was loud. K-less wasn't passive. He didn't set traps. He hunted. K-less was not someone who would slow down his heart. In fact, the Klingon heart is specifically mentioned in the Klingon marriage ceremony. In Deep Space Nine, when Worf married Jadzia Dax in You Are Cordially Invited, we are treated to the full story. But the cliff notes are, the gods created the Klingon heart, and it beat so loud it thundered across the heavens. But then it grew weak because it was alone, so the gods created a second heart. When the 2 hearts learned to beat together, they were so loud that even the gods knew fear for the first time, and they couldn't stand against them. The 2 Klingon hearts slayed their own creators. K-less wouldn't create a technique to quiet that heart. It is the antithesis of all things Klingon. Slowing your heart rate is something Earth monks might do. Worf could easily have said he was embracing some human history and learned from Buddhist monks how to control his heart rate. It would explain a lot of changes to Worf without hurting Klingon canon. And I imagine Michael Dorn himself, who takes every opportunity he can to remind us he's vegan, would be okay with it. There are plenty of nitpicks I didn't even begin to mention. Check out videos by Star Trek nitpickers and nitpicking nerds. Links will be in the description for even more. Qapla All. Bird out.
So what happened? You may not understand. Try me, sir. You were at my wedding. You heard the story of the first 2 Klingon hearts and how nothing could stand against them, and how they even destroyed the gods that had created them. I've heard that story since I was a boy, but I never understood it. I mean, really understood it. Until I was standing in the jungle with my heart pounding in my chest, and I found that even I could not stand against my own heart. I had to go back. And it did not matter what Starfleet thought or what the consequences were. She was my wife, and I could not leave her.